They called him invisible, but when the exam began, the universe itself held its breath.
No one remembered when Kael Doran first arrived at the Interstellar Academy of New Helix. He was simply there one day, sitting in the back corner of Xenobiology Hall, hood pulled low, eyes fixed on a cracked data pad older than most of the instructors. He never raised his hand. He never spoke unless spoken to. He ate alone. He trained alone. And when the other cadets laughed too loudly in the mess hall, he simply moved to a quieter table without a word. They called him Ghost. Not as a compliment. The academy housed 300 cadets from 47 different species, Valorians with their bioluminescent skin, Drathian warriors who stood 9 feet tall and breathed methane, Celestine empaths who could read the emotional weather of an entire room. And then there was Kael. Human. Unremarkable. Easily forgotten. His scores were average. His combat marks were average. His social integration scores were the lowest in the class. Instructor Voss, a silver-scaled Dravenite with 17 years of field experience, once wrote in a report, Cadet Doran shows no distinguishing qualities. Recommend standard reassignment upon graduation. That report would later be framed and mounted on the academy wall, not as an honor for Voss, as a warning to never underestimate a quiet human again. The Deathworld Exam was not a test designed to be passed. It was designed to be survived. Every 5 years, the top institutions of the Galactic Council sent their finest cadets to a class, 7 Deathworld, a planet so hostile that even automated survey drones lasted fewer than 6 hours. The chosen world that cycle was Keth, 9. A jungle ice hybrid planet with a poisonous atmosphere at ground level, megafauna predators that hunted in coordinated packs, unstable terrain from perpetual seismic activity, and a rotation cycle that meant nights lasting 43 standard hours. The rules were simple. Survive 72 hours. Reach the extraction beacon. Come back alive. Teams were assigned randomly by the Council AI. Kael was placed with 5 others. Mira, a Valorian sniper with a reputation for arrogance. Thon, a Drathian tank who had never lost a physical confrontation. Sela, a Celestine medic, and 2 Calder brothers, Ren and Jax, human cadets from wealthy military families who had trained their whole lives for exactly this moment. When the team roster went up, Ren laughed out loud. Ghost is on our team, he said, loud enough for the entire briefing room to hear. We're carrying dead weight from day 1. Kael said nothing. He finished reading the atmospheric composition of Keth, 9, and went to pack his kit. They dropped into Keth, 9 at dawn local time, which gave them exactly 40 minutes of light before the planet's toxic ground fog rolled in like a living thing. Mira immediately took point, directing the team with crisp efficiency. Thon scouted left. The Calder brothers moved in tight formation. Sela monitored biometrics. Kael walked in the back and said nothing. The first attack came 11 minutes in. A Keth stalker, 6-limbed, armored, faster than anything that size had any right to be, erupted from beneath the frost-cracked ground and took Jax completely off his feet. The creature was the size of a transport vehicle and moved like water. Everything happened at once. Thon charged. Mira fired. Jax screamed. And Kael moved. Not with panic. Not with hesitation. He moved the way a river moves, with total inevitability. He didn't go for the creature's armored head like Thon was attempting. He dropped low, identified the gap between the 3rd and 4th limb joints, a structural weakness visible only to someone who had memorized Keth fauna biology obsessively, drew the serrated blade from his boot, and drove it upward through soft cartilage into the creature's neural cluster. The stalker was dead before Thon's second strike landed. Silence. Everyone stared at Kael. He was already wiping the blade clean. There's a secondary pack, he said quietly, still looking at the tree line. They hunt in relay formations. 2 flanks and a rear push. We need to move northeast. The seismic ridge will break their pattern. Follow me. He started walking. Nobody argued. The next 61 hours rewrote everything the team believed about Kael Doran. When the fog became toxic at hour 8, Kael had already constructed makeshift filter masks from salvaged kit components and local fiber reed, a technique from an obscure pre-contact Earth survival manual he had memorized at age 12. When Sela's ankle snapped during a terrain collapse at hour 20, Kael had her walking again in 40 minutes using field splinting methods that Sela, a trained medic, had never encountered. When a storm system at hour 39 dropped temperatures to -60 and killed their heating unit, Kael built a thermal shelter from glacial debris and body heat recycling principles that kept all 5 teammates alive through the 43-hour night. He never slept. He ate almost nothing. He watched everything. Mira, proud and precise, found herself asking for his read on every situation by hour 14. Thawne, who had intimidated every opponent he'd ever faced, deferred to Kael's tactical calls without question by hour 20. The Calder brothers, who had laughed the loudest, were quiet now. Watching. Learning. How do you know all of this? Ren asked on the final night, his voice stripped of all its earlier arrogance. Kael was quiet for a moment, staring at the alien sky. Earth, he said simply. Humans lived on a death world for 200,000 years before we had any help at all. We just forgot that we remember. They hit the extraction beacon at hour 71, 59 minutes early. The only team in Academy history to arrive ahead of schedule. When they were pulled aboard the recovery shuttle, the flight crew ran a biometric check out of protocol. Standard survival assessment. Heart rates, cortisol levels, injury catalogs. Kael's results came back flagged. Not because something was wrong, because something was impossible. His cortisol levels, the biological marker of stress, had barely moved across 72 hours on a Class 7 death world. His heart rate had spiked only twice, both times when a teammate was in danger, not himself. The flight medic stared at the readings and then stared at Kael. Were you scared? She asked. He thought about it seriously, like it was a real question deserving a real answer. A little, he said. But fear is just information. You read it and you move. Back at the academy, Instructor Voss pulled Kael's file and read his own old report one more time. No distinguishing qualities. He deleted it permanently. Then he wrote a new one, a single line, submitted directly to the Galactic Council's Special Operations Registry. Cadet Kael Doran. Human. Do not overlook. Do not underestimate. Do not send alone unless you want the mission to succeed too quietly. 3 weeks later, Kael received a black-sealed envelope. He read it once, folded it, put it in his pocket. Then he went back to his corner table, pulled out his cracked old data pad, and kept studying. The ghost was just getting started.